Hi, I'm Adaline Bebo, and today I'm continuing with my third installment in my roll series. It's not the cookie, the Loch Ness, or Frankenstein's, but it might just be the scariest monster of all, the monster roll. So let's head inside and get rolling. As usual, we'll begin with discussing what your body should be doing during the monster roll. To begin, my feet are shoulder width apart, and your knees will bend to rock yourself side to side. Especially at first, you usually can get a really deep second position lunge here in the beginning as you're learning the monster roll. But over time, I've been able to develop it to the point where I like to actually keep my legs straight and I only use my upper body to move the baton. For me, that gives me a little bit more of a center of control, but this is totally up to you. What is probably the most important component of the monster roll is what your arms are doing. And I see a lot of girls doing big shoulder circles, trying to work that baton around your body. But for me, the key to a perfect monster roll and avoiding cheating while doing a monster roll are the little arm circles. And in order to do this, let's say we'll start under our left arm. Your shoulder should be down. You'll put the baton on. And instead of doing a giant arm circle with your left arm, what you're gonna do actually is flip your hand over here, drop your shoulder down, and that, if you notice my fingertips, that'll make a little circle with your hand. And it should truly be just that subtle, a teeny tiny little arm circle. And the same thing, as you come around, it'll come around your back, you're gonna do the opposite with your right arm. So you're gonna start with your shoulder down, palm facing up, and you're gonna pull your shoulder back and down and do this little shoulder circle. And as you do that, you see my hand goes in a little circle. And that will create just enough of a little ledge for the baton to sit on. That way you're not doing these big circles trying to fling the baton around. You're just doing these small little controlled circles to get the baton right where you want it to go. The last component of the body work to a monster roll are the leans. And as you lean to facilitate the baton around your arm, you don't want to lean forward, you don't want to lean back too far, you want to lean directly side to side. I talk about some stretches that are really good for these monster rolls in my stretching video that you should check out. And once you're nice and stretched out, you should be able to lean directly to the side. Think about your ear to the floor. You're not turned forwards or backwards, you are straight to the side. And when you're here in the middle position, you want to just be slightly back, but just enough that your chest is open and the baton can go from one shoulder to the other. And then when it goes across your back, you don't want to drop your chest too much. You just want to make sure it's just your head slightly enough for the baton to go from one side to the other. You're not doing anything extreme in a monster roll. As much as it looks extreme, you're not going to be moving anything too big or too wide in a monster roll. I want to discuss the 4 components of a monster roll. That way it's a little bit easier for us to discuss it as we go along learning it. The first component is the left arm. And then the baton goes across your back, then your right arm, and then the front. So the 4 components are left arm, back, right arm, front. Now to take it up a level of complexity for the monster roll, we're gonna talk about the 6 positions that the baton will move through. And that way it's a little bit easier for you to understand what I mean when I say that it should be in your left shoulder back. So the first position is your left arm. When I say that we're in the left arm position, the baton is rolling underneath your underarm right here around to come to this left shoulder. But the left shoulder is a totally separate position, so this is left shoulder back. And I'm calling it back because if you notice, only 1/3 of the baton is to the front and 2/3 of the baton is behind me. So that's what makes this position the left shoulder back. The next position is the right shoulder back. So it's the same thing with 2/3 of the baton behind me, 1/3 in front of me, and it's on top of that right shoulder. The next position is right arm. It's the same as the left arm, it's just on the other side. So when I say right arm, I mean this roll right here, right underneath my underarm. This is the right shoulder front, similar because it's got 2/3 of the baton to the front and 1/3 of the baton to the back. It's gonna then roll to this shoulder, and once again, left shoulder front, because 2/3 is to the front, and then once again underneath the left arm. So again, the 6 positions, I'll turn around so you can see them, are left arm, left shoulder back, right shoulder back, right arm, right shoulder front, left shoulder front. Now that you understand both the body positions and the baton positions, we're ready to get rolling. So to begin the roll, you'll start 2/3 of the way down the baton with your thumb facing up. You'll put your left arm up and your baton will go right behind here. It's not quite vertical, it's not quite horizontal, we like to call it vertizontal. It's gonna go right in here. You're going to release it with your thumb touching the very back part of your underarm. While you're like at it, go ahead and press the like button. From here, you're going to release the baton and it's going to roll to that left shoulder back position. Now that you've mastered the entrance to the monster roll, the next part is getting the baton to your right shoulder. So it's going to go under your left arm, to your left shoulder, to your right shoulder. Now, in order to move on, you should be familiar with neck traps. So you should be able to go from here to here. But in a monster roll, you never want to trap the baton. That's one common cheating mistake that you want to avoid. It's easy to fall into that trap, so don't do it. So we'll go from left shoulder to right shoulder. And to do this, we can practice going from here to here to here. And if you notice, it goes from this nook to this nook of my shoulder. And it's really important that it stays nice and tight in, that it doesn't get too far down your back. It stays right there on top of your shoulder as you're going to lean to a little bit to the right for the entrance, and you're going to stand straight up while the baton goes from one side to the other. So at this point, you've learned about half of a baby monster. So now we're going to learn the other half, and then we can put the two halves together. So to practice the next half, it's gonna start on your left shoulder, roll to your right, and you're going to catch it underneath your right arm. So that looks like this. If you notice, I start with my body upright. It's gonna go from the left nook to the right nook. I'm going to lean slightly, not forward, not back. I'm gonna lean slightly to my left as my arm comes up, and I'm going to receive it right underneath that right arm. So again, that looks like this. So be sure to practice each of these components separately at first, master them, get comfortable with them, and then we can work on putting them all together. Now that you have the two halves of a baby monster, let's put them together to create the baby monster. So it looks like this. You're going to put it under your left arm and take it all the way to the right arm. That's also the back half of a full monster roll. So once again, it's left arm to right arm. After completing the back half of the monster roll, the next challenge we're going to face is getting it from the back to the front over this right shoulder. To do this, I begin by practicing going from this left shoulder back here, rolling it, and receiving it at the right shoulder front. If you notice, I'm not leaning forwards or backwards. I'm leaning with the top of my head going straight side to side. My shoulders are always square, and I'm not doing a giant arm circle like we talked about in the beginning. Again, it's from the left shoulder back to the right shoulder front. So as the baton is going here, normally you would receive the baby monster here, but in order to keep it going, your shoulder is down. As it reaches this point right underneath your underarm, you're going to drop that shoulder like we talked about, doing that tiny arm circle. And as you drop your shoulder, the baton is going to come to the front, and it should sit comfortably right there in the right nook, and there you can catch it right here. After completing the back and the right arm portion of the monster roll, we're now at the front part. And here, a lot of people have a tendency to catch the baton with both arms and fling it around from here. But the key to a perfect monster roll is not ever touching the baton with two arms at the same time. It should go from right to left. And as I do this, my right arm is up, and in order to get it where I want it to, I'll bring it, as the baton comes around from my right shoulder to my left shoulder front, I'll drop my right arm, and my left arm will come up to secure the baton on the left side to continue back around into a full monster. And this looks like this. And it should stop right here at your left shoulder front. To practice this front portion, we're going to have to backtrack a little bit further back to this left shoulder back. So you'll go from here, and as the baton comes around, instead of catching it here like we did in the last part, you're simply going to make sure your body is nice and upright, your shoulders are square, and as the baton comes across this way, drop that right arm and lift the left, and it should stop right here. Rounding out our full monster roll, we now have to figure out how to get back from the front to the back. And to do this, I like to start right here at the right shoulder front and swing the baton here. It'll go back around. Your left arm, like we talked about on the other side, your arm will start up instead of down. It will start up. You're gonna do a tiny hand circle and drop your shoulder in order to get it around. This looks like this. And while I want to note that I'm trapping the baton here in order to practice this, when you're doing an actual monster roll, you never ever want to trap it with your head one way or another. So we'll go here to here. You've now successfully learned all the components necessary to do a monster roll, but obviously putting them together is a pretty big task. So I recommend putting certain sections together to learn. So like I said, the back portion or the front portion. If you're having trouble getting the baton to go from front to back or back to front, isolate those portions and drill them. Regarded as one of the most difficult rolls to learn in twirling history. So with that being said, putting all these roll sections together into one big monster roll is a monster task. So be patient with yourself, see where it is that you need to work hard on, and drill. This roll actually took me many years of training, of just spending time practicing, feeling the weight of the baton, understanding how I wanted the baton to roll. And so it seems a little silly that I'm putting together such a short little video to teach you all how to do it. But that being said, know that it's not going to come by the time you finish this video, but with lots of years of practice and training. But together, I think we can make a world full of non-cheating, perfect monster rolls. Hopefully with these tips and tricks, this monster is a little less scary. If it is, or if you have any questions, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. And until next time, work hard and be bold.